Hello everyone, I'm off to a natural food store and I'd like to have you join me in a mini tour of foods that I recommend. So we're going to start with looking at potatoes. So the potatoes that do not affect your joints or cause joint inflammation are red skin potatoes, often referred to as red bliss potatoes. So any of the potatoes that have a brown skin or a tan color skin, you do want to avoid if you're prone to arthritis or joint inflammation. Many of you are familiar with the aloe plant, so this is an example of one of the leaves from the aloe plant. So if you break it open, if you have any poison ivy or cuts or any insect bites, just rub the liquid from inside and put it on your skin. It's very healing and soothing, and it also prevents itching too. We'll come to tomatoes. So many of you know that tomatoes are in the nightshade family. Nightshades cause a lot of inflammation in the body, but there are certain types of tomatoes that are actually fine to eat. So one example would be the grape tomatoes, which are in the shape of a grape, compared to the cherry tomatoes. The other one that I also recommend is the Campari. Just make sure that it is organic when you buy it. And they don't have any here, but I usually recommend the heirloom. If you want a bigger tomato to put into salads, look for the heirloom organic tomatoes. So sweet potatoes are a very healthy carb because they are a complex carbohydrate as opposed to a simple carbohydrate or very high in sugar. So what you want to look for is the darker the sweet potato is inside, the more nutritious it is, and it has more vitamins and nutrients. So for instance, this is a purple potato that when you cut it inside, it's actually a purplish color. And that one is the most nutritious out of all the sweet potatoes. The ones that are orange are also very nutritious because they're very rich in beta-carotene, which is good for eyes, good for skin, and good for your hair. As opposed to the ones that are just white inside, because those tend to be sweeter and those have more sugar. So if you're watching your sugar content, that would not be a good thing to have. Some of you enjoy having peppers in your salad or putting it on pizza. So the most nutritious out of all the peppers would be the red pepper, because it's very rich in lycopenes, which is an anti-cancer compound and very beneficial on health. So another thing you want to keep in mind when you're shopping for vegetables, so celery is a really good example. You don't want a pale looking celery. So the more nutritious celery is the one that's darker green, and that has more nutrients in it. So always look for vegetables that are darker in color because they have more nutritional benefit. So out of the melons, the watermelon is the most nutritious because it is also very rich in lycopenes, which is also an anti-cancer compound. Watermelon is also very hydrating. It's very important because it tends to be bloating that you do not combine it with a meal or have it immediately after a meal. Wait at least a couple of hours after a meal to eat your watermelon. And then bananas, if you eat the bananas more green, then they will not affect your weight negatively. It's only the bananas that have the brown spots on them or that are all brown that you want to avoid because they're very high in sugar. So when you're making salads, again with the lettuces, you want to choose a lettuce that's darker in green as opposed to a lighter green lettuce. So it has a lot more B vitamins, magnesium, and just much better for you. All right, so for kitchen paper towels, I mean, most of us tend to buy the white ones, but actually the unbleached brown ones is a much healthier paper. All right, and also for laundry detergent, many of you guys buy Tide or other similar laundry detergent, but those are really full of chemicals and they're really toxic on the clothing and toxic on your skin, and they can cause skin irritation and dermatitis. So what I recommend instead, my number one choice is BioClean. For a laundry detergent, and even for any other cleaning stuff, always go with BioClean as opposed to Myers or 7th Generation. If you're using any kind of antiperspirant or deodorant, what I recommend is something that is 100% non-toxic, and then that would be the Tide Crystal. So you could either do the stick or you could do the spray. Okay, so a lot of you buy your vegetables frozen, so it's very important whenever you can buy frozen vegetables in brown packaging, because that's a much safer packaging than the plastic. Since we're now into summer, we all are probably craving ice cream sometimes, so instead of eating a dairy-based ice cream, I'm recommending coconut-based ice cream. But my favorite choice is a brand called Sunscoop, because they use only maple syrup and brown rice syrup as a sweetener. whereas the other brands use agave syrup, which spikes your blood sugar levels and can impact your weight. Good. So instead of buying regular bottled salad dressing, it's much healthier to make your own. And I usually recommend making your own with either the raw apple cider vinegar, or you could even use like a really good quality balsamic vinegar. Ooh, they don't have my favorite type. All right, so usually I recommend a Lessie, but I recommend their straight balsamic vinegar, not the white wine vinegar. So sometimes you don't feel like cooking dinner, especially when it's really hot and humid outside. So for a quick, easy, healthy meal, you can certainly use either sardines, or you could use the canned salmon. But make sure you use a brand called Wild Planet, because they use sustainably caught fish, and their tin packaging is healthier than most other tins. So if you're baking muffins or baking cookies, what I usually recommend is either using raw organic honey or a really good quality pure 100% maple syrup that's also healthier too, rather than using agave, because as I mentioned earlier, agave raises blood sugar and will not be a healthy sweetener. Great. So many of you know that I recommend cutting back on your oils because you have either gallbladder issues or liver issues or cholesterol issues. So a great way to get olive oil in its natural state is by eating really healthy olives. So you want to make sure the olives are packed in water and sea salt, and that there is no vegetable oil, canola oil, or sunflower oil. So for those of you who enjoy having your meat and find it hard to be completely vegetarian, I'm going to strongly recommend that you buy D'Artagnan as a brand, because their meats are very high quality. They do bison or buffalo, and they also do venison as well, which are very lean, much leaner than eating beef. So my favorite brands on marinara sauces are the ones that are oil-free. So I usually recommend either Jovial, or I recommend the strained tomatoes by Bio Natura. These are both products that are imported from Italy, and they're very high quality. Also, in the summertime is a good time to do pasta salads. So I usually recommend a new type of pasta made out of cassava root, which is like a sweet potato. And it comes in elbows, it also comes in a fusilli, and it comes as a penne as well. So many of you love your cheese and you find it hard to give up your cheese. So the healthiest brand that I recommend on a cheese substitute is a product called Esti. It comes from Greece. It's actually manufactured in Greece. And they have fantastic imitations of feta cheese, mozzarella cheese, all the typical cheeses that you tend to eat. And they really taste like cheese. For a healthy dip to have with crudités, like raw vegetables, what I recommend is the oil-free hummus. So this brand is oil-free, as it states on the label. This happens to be another brand that's oil-free that you can also try, the traditional style by Abraham's. So both of these make great dips to have with vegetables. Just like the cheeses, I recommended Esti, the product from Greece. Also in the yogurt, which they don't happen to have it here, but the Esti yogurt is to die for. It tastes just like regular yogurt. So most of the crackers on the market have oil in them, and they're not healthy oils, but these are two from a brand called Edward & Sons that do not contain any oil at all. And it actually says it right on the packaging, no added oils. I hope you all enjoyed the mini tour of the food brands that I recommended. I would love to have any feedback from any of you. Please feel free to share this video with all your friends and family.